Hi, so I am coming on again, going through more stuff I wrote, throwing them out as I go live or upload because I'm trying to lighten my load. Okay, so this is notebook stuff that I wrote about hoarders. And again, I'm not gonna write essays or write a book. I'm gonna dump them here. The if you want the reason, you can look at or listen to the upload I made on November 24th, 2025. Merry Christmas, by the way. I'm spending it alone, working out and doing this. Um, okay. Um, okay. Who hoarders? By the way, these are just drafts that I never made second or third drafts of. So I will edit and read at the same time. I'm sorry if I go off tangent. I'll try not to. Okay. Jay is a leader in a feminist group that is anti-sex trafficking, pro-woman. Um, they call themselves Fifth Wave Radical Anti-Imperialist International Group with roots in the global South. We met at a feminist conference where we both gave workshops. She gave me a scholarship for her group's summer school, an intensive that teaches the history of commercial sex and the imperialist, military, and capitalistic aspects. So I stayed in touch with Jay, and when I was assaulted by a man I went to high school with, she told me to go to her apartment right away. She let me stay in her living room, and then she said she'll rent me a small room for a very affordable price. Um, I was on disability from PTSD, and so it was like a storage room. Um, I've hung out at that place a couple of times before, and yeah, it was kind of like a place, like it was called a study for her husband, but her husband was he was on a computer all day, but it was like video games and social media. But anyway, so yeah, it, on my notebook it says about my background in physical abuse, but you can listen to my other uploads, so I will go skip that. Um, so she agreed to rent me that study room, and at that time the place wasn't so cluttered. It had stuff, um, but it was, I guess, a computer room. Um, and I moved on, and she, I moved out when her friend from college ended up living there. And then a year later, I started renting from her again. I'd been homeless for 3 years, and months at a time living in unsafe living situations, such as a domestic violence shelter, supportive housing, collective housing, um, which was more like a crust house, disgusting and stealing and all sorts of stuff. But by that time, her husband's room was filled with clutter. I only had like a rectangle to sleep on, And if I put a small box of clothing in her living room, she would ask if it was for donation. At that time, I was trying to work to get off disability and at the trial work period. So I needed, like a week of outfits to work there. In fact, I needed 5 outfits. So I didn't have a lot. I had been living out of a couple of beds for years, but I had to, I had clothes. Yeah, so like if I wanted to have stuff, I couldn't leave it in that room, and if I put it in the living room, she asked it was for donation. So, like I asked if they can take the stuff out of the room they're renting me, so I can put it in my room, and they were kind of like, don't you want this box here so you can put stuff on it, like a nightstand, shit like that. Um, but and I ended up staying there for 5 months. But it's quite short, you know. Oh, and then there's another paragraph. So backtracking. Um, when I stayed there before, where and I moved out because I lived in the Hudson Valley for a month, um, hoping that it'll lead to more like work and live exchange stuff. But I ended up back in New York City, not in the Hudson Valley. Because I was commissioned, got an artistic commission and a guest teaching gig, and I needed that money more than to look for a place to do work exchange. But yeah, so the first time I stayed, I left. I lived in Hudson Valley, and I came back in New York. And while her friend from high school was renting that room I lived in, she would like call me up at random. Jay, the leader, will call me at random places, including when I was camping with a friend to watch her son. Her friend was there, and when I lived there, I watched her son for free. But like I'd say, no, I'm camping, and then she'd say shit like, "I'll give you $15." I was like, she wanted me to cut short a camping trip to watch her son. But she had that kind of demand on me. So basically, what she was saying, when her friend lived there, she didn't watch her son, and also her friend wasn't paying. And then when she needed a babysitter for free, she'd just call me, even if I was camping. It was really disgusting. But so going back to the second time I stayed there, um, she asked me to borrow $750, and her reason was her husband's student loan dispersal date was not as soon as she thought, and her son will starve. So this is like right after I got those $1,500 for this like specific artistic commission. And yeah, 2 weeks after. So yes, so she said, "Oh yeah, just a couple of weeks before he gets his student loans." And 2 weeks later, she gave me. Oh my gosh. Okay, the next page is not something else, but now I remember that everything though. This was about 10 years ago. She She gave you $200 of it, and said that in 2 weeks she'll give it back to me. But like that lagged on, and then I ended up living there. And but between her giving me $200 and me going back there, she would she would like, for instance, ask me my advice on her child's birthday party, and I think it's in October. So I said, if it's too small in your apartment, I used to go to the park. We used to have a park birthday parties, and she's like, no, but all of this kid's kindergarten friends are renting birthday places, but it's $450 for the cheapest package. And I said, just get a cake from the supermarket, balloons and hats. Well, she ended up renting the place for $450 and ordered a cake from a different place. I didn't say anything about the $550 that she owed me, but stuff like that. Or the second time I ended up living there, um, when I after I don't know what happened. Yeah, you know, the second time I stayed there, like my food will be gone. And she'd tell me, oh, well, you're vegetarian. There's nothing of mine you can eat. I get home from work at 11 o'clock, really hungry. And she'd tell me to drink green tea, like bullshit like this. But I did eat some of their food. I ate some of like the children's dino chicken nuggets and stuff like that because like I mean when they were sleeping because I just couldn't I, I yeah, I lapped some of vegetarianism. Also, there'd be times I get back from work, like on the day shift. The son would like be showing me the clothes that his mom got at Macy's, and I just stayed there because and also the father would like tell the kid. I think he was grooming the kid to like tell me to get. He'd yell at me, "Get out of my house." Meanwhile, I was paying almost half the rent in this tiny, tiny closet. Um, and then one day he he told me, you have to get out in a week when his wife went to work. And I said, wait, what are you talking about? I've been paying rent, and he's this is after his wife has been telling me to stay as long as I need. I'm helping him out with the rent, everything. So I said, that's not true. And then he accused me of starting a fight with his son, even if I didn't. Sometimes his son will scream and yell. He went from being this kid who liked to go to the park and do stuff to somebody who's given a tablet and spend 8 hours a day playing video games. His A lot of times, like he was sent to babysitting when the father was home on the computer all day, and also like day drinking and smoking. She thought that he was working, just stuff like that. And I think maybe he started to get nasty to me because I noticed, even if I didn't say anything. So he started to beat down the door and threaten me. So I called the cops. And cops came, and he told the cops that I hadn't been taking my medication and I have PTSD. The real actuality is I was given opioids for my spine injuries. Again, these injuries you can my other there are many that mention them. And these spine injuries is they are from my early life. My parents used to assault me every day for 8 or 9 years, and I refused to take opioids at that time. So I am gonna go off on a tangent. There are many uploads that you can listen to. Basically, these early life injuries started getting exacerbated around 2010, and it got really bad um, around 2015. So, but these cops would wanted to take me to a psych ward, so I started to film them, and it's about. And I also started calling some of my friends who are activists about what cops can do. Um, I think it was illegal, but they illegally tied me to a chair, put me in an ambulance, and I was forced to be in waiting room for 8 hours. Um, and no, it was like 4 hours because it's still daytime. The doctor there, finally, when I got to see her after half a day, told me that to get someone to pick me up, go there to get a few things and get the person who picks me up to go there with me to get some of my stuff and go back there some other time and make sure there's somebody there. And she seemed to be used to people who are who try to get people locked up for money or whatnot. But that day he had the $500 that he owed me, $550, and that was one hoarder bullshit. Actually, I was gonna talk about three sets of hoarders, but I'm gonna leave it at this. Um, so what do you think? Are hoarders narcissists? Oh yeah, so this is about them wanting me to be in a hospital, but so this guy, I forgot to talk about this guy, right? While the mother was away, while this activist Jay was away working an 8 hour a day job, besides being on the computer and drinking all day, he just buys stuff online. So there was always packages. And within the 5 months, that place went from having some stuff in the room that they rented me to having laundry bags full of clothes lining up their bedroom and then the hallways. So, like, people can't pass each other. And then the living room had more than one box. It was full of stuff. So it was just the kitchen and the room for their bed. And on top of that, the kid was on his tablet playing games all day. So that's the hoarder part. So not only, yeah, did they borrow money from me to buy stupid shit, um, there was a time when I was still getting along with Jay. Me and her and the child went to the park, the local park, when the kid was still, playing on the swings and finding friends to go on the slides with. She was telling me, she asked me if I could lend her $500 because she was getting her tax auditing, which I think is a lie. And I said, well, I don't have that kind of money. And I really didn't. I was working, what, 30 hours to try to get off of disability, but the wages were so low and I didn't have benefits. They are also a really, really crappy place. But I said I don't have that kind of money. And also I wasn't getting paid. This is a person who was notorious for not paying and gambling away all the business money and yeah, it's a thing. And I'm not gonna give away who he is, but I was working there and you can see like on Yelp and also different message boards about like the the shit he'd pull on people. So, but then she was like telling me, so yeah, I said I can't lend her any more money. I also haven't gotten back the $550 at that time, but I couldn't lend her money, and if I had the money, I would have because I have got the money back to lend it. So I, I said, I said I can't, but then she told me some of the people she had borrowed money from over and over again, and $1,000 at a time. One of them is a friend of hers, um, who who has a trust fund. So she has a job, but she also has had passive money. I think yeah, she worked, but like her she also had funds from interest on the money she had. So she would borrow thousands of dollars, $8,000 at a time, but more than a few times. And she told me that she doesn't plan on paying her back. And then this other guy who's best friends with her husband since the country that he came from, and he has a high-paying job in Manhattan. I live in Queens, but he has a high-paying job and lives with his mother, so his share of the rent is very low. So they have borrowed money from them a few times and don't expect to pay it back. And at that time, I was so tired, that I was like half napping in the park when she was telling me this. So, yeah, that's the hoarder part. What do you think? Is it narcissistic to be able to think that they're entitled to borrowing money that they're entitled to other people's money, saying that they're borrowing it and using like their son, whether or not he can eat and drink milk, to hold over people's head to borrow money and not pay it back and not intend on paying it back. Um, is that narcissistic? I just and also enough to try to get somebody hospitalized in mental ward. Um, please comment below. I'd like to hear your opinions, or if you also have had hoarder stories, and also if you do make an upload like I am, and this is a live, but if you do have content on it, please um, put it in the comments below. I would like to listen to it, look at it, and follow you. Um, that's it for now. Merry Christmas. Yeah, I spent Christmas alone. I don't have community and I don't have family, but I was able to work out and I'm still going through these notebooks, make this upload, and still do some writing and maybe do some more exercise or somatic body mind studies and maybe read a book. Um, so yeah, there's no drama, um, no family drama, no friend group drama. So I am actually having a good Christmas. I hate food, cheap food. I eat cup noodles, you know, with stuff I added on like fish balls and dumplings that I bought. So not extravagant, but more carbs than I usually eat, but then I worked it off. And yeah, I have a day off from work and it's been peaceful. So happy holidays and happy Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas and happy Hanukkah if you celebrate Hanukkah. And yeah, I'm ending now. Okay, take care.